Lincoln Mitchell is the national political correspondent for the New York Observer. Let's talk about what BC just said. How much will Michigan affect things on both sides of the political aisle? Let's start with the Democrats.
On the Democratic side, if Hillary Clinton wins with, say, upwards of 55 or 60% of the vote, she begins to pile up and really a delegate lead that is not only going to be very difficult for Bernie to catch up with her, but she could go into the convention with enough earned delegates to win the nomination without any superdelegates, right? But moreover, if he doesn't break 55%, 45%, pardon me, he can't tell a story of what's next, how he can win, how he can get there. He can still stay in the race, he can still pile up delegates, but the path becomes very, very difficult.
On the Republican side, will it be over today?
One thing to look for today, which we haven't discussed, is who comes in second. If John Kasich can come in second, right now we see him and Ted Cruz neck and neck for second. If he comes in second, his narrative gets stronger. That's a little bump going into Ohio. It does begin to define this as a three-person race. Interestingly, if you look at that number, there's a threshold of 15% in Michigan to get delegates. Rubio's at 13. If Rubio gets 13 and Kasich is in the low 20s and Trump is in the mid-30s, Rubio's presence in that race may have cost Kasich the state. You can't always know who voters' second choice is, but it's pretty clear that Rubio and Kasich are, in fact, appealing to the same voters.
In fact, we're looking at John Kasich right now. Ted Cruz is said to be gaining, as is Kasich here, who is speaking in Lansing at this live event. Is Donald Trump's star fading in the Republican Party?
Donald Trump's star may be fading, but the race is also changing, right? We're moving into states where a candidate like Kasich has bigger appeal. As you get into the bigger states where more people vote in larger numbers, that mainstream Republican view is more popular. There are people in Michigan who are not, it's fewer fundamentalist Christians, it's fewer radical, not just radical conservatives, but just radical angry people, and it does play to Kasich and Cruz's strengths. I don't know whether Trump is wearing thin on the American voter. People, including me, have been saying that's inevitable for 9 months now. Some people have been saying it for 30 years now, and it hasn't happened. But there is reason to think that the numbers aren't lining up for Mr. Trump.
On the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders mentioned the word ghetto when he was asked about the issue of race and now has been walking that back. Did that hurt him in Michigan?
Well, we'll see. I think it suggests, I should say, that while Bernie Sanders is acutely aware of the economic challenges facing all Americans, and frankly has a pretty good cohesive understanding, if you agree with him, it explains a lot. He's not really as focused on how to speak to the different groups that make up the Democratic Party. And what we know from very basic review of political history is you don't win elections by being right. You win elections by having good ideas and doing the politics right and reaching out to people right. His use of the word ghetto, and you don't know what it's like to, white people don't know what it's like to be poor, right, suggesting both there are no poor white people and that all black people are poor, that is a cue that African-American voters very well may process as, he doesn't really understand me. When you add in, he's from Vermont, a state without a lot of African-American voters, there are more cues like that. I don't know whether or not that's true. I can't look into Bernie Sanders' heart and soul and mind and say, does he understand African-American people? He certainly has some economic policies that would very much benefit anybody who's low income, regardless of their race. But that is how people see it, and that's very important in these kind of elections.
Is it better that he stay in or get out of the race on the Democratic side? He has the money, he has the organization to go all the way to the convention, but is that a good thing?
I don't know that it makes a big difference on Hillary Clinton, presuming she's the nominee's chances in November. He has every right to stay in. He's unlikely to be the nominee, but he may have made agreements with people in the later primary states. I'm going to stay in. I'm going to get you to the convention as a delegate. So I think it is much better for the party that Sanders stay in than the perception that he's pushed out by Hillary Clinton and her supporters too early. However, how he conducts himself is critically important. If he stays in and starts bringing this narrative and perpetuating this narrative that I lost because it was rigged against me, it was the superdelegates, it was the establishment, the system is rigged. If he keeps saying that, it could damage the party in November. On the other hand, we hear this every year. We heard this in 2008, the Pumas. Right. You know, we heard this every year. So Jerry Brown was supposed to be so angry that Clinton was going to have no chance in '92. So, you know, it's hard to know.
Lincoln Mitchell from the New York Observer, thanks for being with us as always.
Thank you.